Before we get started, it's been a bit. Let's get a change of outfit really quickly. There we go, much better. If you clicked on this video, you're probably part of at least one of a few different types of audiences. You're either trans femme and want a video discussing experiences you too have went through and witnessed as a sort of act of solidarity. You're someone who hasn't experienced transmisogyny in any way at all and just want a deeper look of what it's like. Or you might be part of a group telling me to shut up and stop being like this, treat one of the video and just get on with it so you can eat your meal and I can be your dedicated food entertainment in peace. Or something like that. You might just want to watch this because you like me. Thank you. Regardless of what group you're a part of, I'm a part of a group of people who can and do experience transmisogyny. What exactly is that though? Sure, it's kind of in the name, but how are we going to define it for this discussion? I'm not a pillar for trans femmes, but generally the definition we go with here is a slight combo of primarily it's the interaction between transphobia and misogyny, and how that causes unique or heightened transphobic action towards trans women and trans femmes. Screw it, why not? Change of scenery too. I came out as trans in March of 2023. It's been nearly 3 years that I've been living my life as a trans woman, and I've definitely had my share of transmisogyny during that time. I experienced, in retrospect, a lot of slight instances of transphobia and transmisogyny that I couldn't identify at the time, having my words not taken as seriously in any capacity sometimes, my feelings and emotions kind of pushed under, and being seen as someone that you have to be careful around or else I'm going to make an issue out of something. A general atmosphere changes. Nearly everyone from that time is gone, and that's for the better. Though I will continually remember one of the very first times that I fully acknowledged in the moment that something happening to me was transmisogyny. Not to go in major detail, but it was from someone else who was trans, playing into the, oh, this trans woman having a boundary is oh so aggressive and assertive, and how dare she counter my mindset in any capacity. Because I dared to call out that something they were doing was harmful. I generally tend to feel safe in a lot of trans and queer spaces, but a few of the ones I've been harmed in, it's really, really telling the lack of trans women or trans femmes in general that exist in that space. And it's always something that I realize in hindsight, that maybe there's a reason I'm one of the only trans femmes there. I see how trans femmes get treated in so many different scenarios. I see the higher standards that we're subjected to. If we do something that someone who isn't trans femme would do and would get away with it just fine, we get yelled at and scrutinized more for it. And I want to properly acknowledge as well that I say this as a white trans femme. POC trans femmes, especially black trans femmes, experience this to a higher degree than I ever could, which is even more terrifying. While I may have exact experiences in my brain that come to mind while I write this, I don't want to start shit. I don't want to name instances specifically, no matter how bad it's hurt me. I've had my words demonized and held on higher and negative pedestals and twisted, and for what? Because I'm a trans woman and you want a way to express your bigotries in a way that you think is quote unquote progressive? So many times people I've known and people I've not known have proclaimed themselves as allies to trans women, and then within just a few interactions, not even with anything bad happening, it's like I can almost hear them mentally calling me a censored whenever they interact with me. And yeah, there's been a lot of times it's been thrown around out loud as well, but there's just a certain energy that comes across in the way that some interactions unfold, to where it's like, I can't help but feel like this person would rather just call me a slur and have it all be over. I feel like most trans femmes watching this will know exactly what I'm talking about, will know the exact feeling of unsafety. I mean, hell, something I heard even before I came out as trans and personally now experience as well is trans people can tell when you don't accept them, when you're just pretending to accept them, using their correct pronouns rather than acknowledging and truly knowing who we are. It's something that we all experience. It also segues into a discussion of how our voices are very much not properly acknowledged, not properly recognized. We can talk in length about the harm we've experienced, how society is built against us, how transphobia and misogyny, and for those further marginalized than me, racism is baked into the very fundamental core that is most modern political systems and the status quo. But when we say this, we're not believed. If we say the exact same thing that someone who's cis would say and would have others agree, our opinion is either invalidated, ignored, or in worst cases, we're directly attacked for it. My brain always goes to the time that I first learned about Bunlith and how she was saying a phrase that had been agreed upon by many for a bit, but the second that a trans woman says it, suddenly it's the most wrong, absurd statement that's ever been said. I remember from the earliest parts of my transition even joking with myself to cope, saying, hey, at least I know they see me as a woman because they don't give a about anything I have to say. A counterpart to it that's somehow still on the same side of the same coin, though, is that not only are we not taken seriously, but any negative action thrusted towards us, no matter the legitimacy, no matter the truth, is taken at face value and heavily agreed upon. simply because we're trans femme. And a lot of those who call themselves allies still have an underlying uncomfortableness with us and want an excuse to hate us and will latch to any claim they deem reasonable enough, which, to be honest, is nearly every claim to them. This furthers itself in how social medias are handled. Sure, there's a lot of users on them that are transmisogynist, are transphobic in general, but a lot of them are also deemed as authority in these spaces and let their prejudice show in the forefront. I've lost track of the amount of times that I've seen a trans woman get harassed, doxxed, and get death threats on a platform, and no matter how many calls for anyone to step in and do something to protect the very life of a trans woman, they're simply ignored. And in some cases, I've seen the trans woman be the one banned for simply defending themselves. This isn't exclusive to any social media site. I could point out specific examples. I could talk about how the fascist Nazi pedophile app that once was the now dead bird of Twitter is owned by someone who wants to see the eradication of trans women and trans people in general. Or how every time I open Tumblr, it's another instance of staff banning a trans woman or marking a trans woman's post as mature content simply for existing. Or how my Discord server got permanently age restricted for just being a trans femme server. Sure, I intend only those who are 18 plus to join it because that's how I want to manage the community the Discord server is, but there was nothing 18 plus about it really. It was very much just a direct attack that I haven't spoken on too publicly. It makes it annoying for anyone to join, especially those in the UK. I've heard multiple instances of so many people saying that my invite link simply just doesn't even work unless they use a VPN. And those are far from the only instances of transmisogyny online. Earlier last year, Alison WonderAuria put out a video discussing her video views being a lot lower than she was ever really used to, and talked about how through communicating with a few other trans creators that views did seem to be down for trans content in general after Trump's inauguration. And while I wasn't one of the creators asked about it, I can say that the same was for me as well. I don't have a massive sample size of data. I only really started taking this YouTube thing seriously a little bit more last year, and I only uploaded 2 videos in 2025 before January 20th. But the video that I uploaded right after that date still sits as one of my lowest viewed videos on my channel. And in fact, it wasn't until June that I saw another video hit the level that my first 2 did. It wouldn't be the first or last time that Google, Alphabet, whatever, bended their knee to a fascist administration. After all, they're a corporation. At the end of the day, they don't care about the rights of the users on their apps as long as they're able to make money off of us. It's unsurprising. All to say, there's no place on the internet that I feel truly safe and protected. I'd argue the place that I feel the most safe, if you can even call it that, is Twitch right now. And it's not that they even do good, it's just that the bar is in hell. Twitch is also notorious for treating streamers like censored whenever support is needed most. And dare I even bring up how bad TwitchCon goes most of the time. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I feel like nowhere is safe for me. And I have to carve my own hole into these places to have access to somewhat of an existence. And that's obviously an issue. Media and news outlets play heavily into and contribute to this demonization of trans women. It feels like it's a daily basis of opening social media just to see trans women be the demonized topic of yet another headline. How we shouldn't exist, how we shouldn't be allowed to do what we want, how we're treated as specifically an other. For a more major and seriously ongoing example, I'm sure many of you all have heard of this case by now, but this video is being produced while the West Virginia v. BPJ case is still ongoing. Becky, the B in BPJ, is just a high school girl who wants to have fun with her friends and peers through sports, like many other girls do. But because she's trans, the state and federal government are pushing back on this as much as possible. And despite previous acknowledgments that this is a violation of Title IX, and more importantly, a violation of human rights and self-identity, the Supreme Court decided to let West Virginia proceed with the potential of banning her and all other trans girls from playing in school sports anyways. I shouldn't have to say it here, you should already know, but not allowing trans women or trans girls to play in women's or girls' sports in any capacity is transmisogyny. You are actively disassociating a trans woman away from being a woman when you attempt to bar us from these things. There's no other angle to look at it. And if you have any pushback on this at all, I highly suggest you to look at yourself internally and realize that you're not currently the ally that you think you are. I don't personally have an interest in sports, but it's an acknowledgement that governmental systems want to push the agenda that we are anything but women. And besides, just because it doesn't directly affect me doesn't mean I don't care. Some quote-unquote allies need to learn that one as well. This isn't even to mention that the harmfulness that attempting to box sports into binary categories upholds. Associating gender with binaries like this in any capacity is inherently harmful. Sports is still, by far, not the only example. There are a plethora of avenues to go down whenever discussing the fundamental discrimination that all trans people get for existing. Be it reducing our access to gender-affirming care whenever cis people can get it in plenty, or systematically pushing for our erasure on every scale to try to make us simply an erased part of history. We have always existed, and we will always exist. Trans people have existed longer than this bigotry, and we will outlast it. But aside from our rights being fundamentally stripped away by the government with the backing of news outlets, even the level of representation that we get in entertainment media is less than ideal, to put it extremely lightly. I keep going back mentally to a conversation that was had on my Discord server of someone asking for any media with good trans representation, and while a few examples were given, it was far, far less than it should have been. And a lot of us acknowledging that this isn't something that we really see a lot. Trans women are very often the subjects of quote-unquote gags and, hey look, she's not cis like you thought, or hey look, she has a penis. A transphobic sort of quote-unquote jokes. It's just transmisogyny. Very rarely do I see media where we're portrayed as who we are, women. I think one of the only clear memories I have of trans women in shows being treated with respect and grace is seeing a clip from the Guilty Gear Strive anime, with Bridget being shown as simply beautiful. No goofs, no gags, no making her being trans being the butt of a joke. She was just simply there. And I haven't watched the rest of the anime, so I can't say how the representation of it all is, but that scene made me really emotional. And it stuck with me as one of the only animated positive representations of a trans woman that I've ever really seen. There should be more moments like this. We shouldn't have to be nervous every time a major piece of media chooses to represent us and how they see us. We shouldn't have to be nervous that we might be demonized or made fun of for simply being us. We should get to see others like us for who we are and be properly acknowledged that we exist and that we always will. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you all are having an amazing new year and are doing all you can to keep yourself and your loved ones safe while fighting for a better future that we can all exist in together. There's been a major snowstorm that's recently hit the United States, and there's been ice in other places that needs to melt as well. Fight for liberation and fight for a better future. ACAB means every one of them. I know that uploads have been really sparse lately, but I really hope that this one was worth the wait. I have more coming soon, a bit more lighthearted than this, but I wanted this to start off the new year. For more of me, you all probably know by now that you can find me on my Twitch and other socials, but in case you don't, on screen is where I'm the most. As always, I want to thank my tier 2 and 3 Twitch subs and my Yippee tier YouTube members for making videos like this possible. Haymarket Riot, Evie the Evie, Brink _ Zohar Contact, Loop is Somewhere, Natalie Weiss 23, WTuckTuck 456, Codename Sign It, Wild Pikachu level 666, Alcade 2, Evil Naru, EP Hannah, Jerain and Nessa. Thank you all for being here. I love and appreciate each and every one of you, and if you haven't heard it today, I'm proud of you.